Actually, a quick question for Derek. I mean, it seems obvious in some sense, what you're saying, that this responsive platform development should occur.
Yeah.
Well, how come so many mobile phone sites are so terrible?
I think there's still a lot of cynicism from executives that that the experience is valuable there, and I think that it's. I think also, people have to brutally prioritize. Digital has moved extremely rapidly in the last 5 years, and digital budgets have not matched that. And so people who are working in these departments have to prioritize between social optimizations and social activations. And I think that's actually something the Media Lab at NYU concluded, was that people are over-investing in social and under-investing in platform development. And it's a lot less sexy, and when you saw what happened to JP Morgan Chase the other day when they, 2/3 of their sentiment was negative. They shut down their blog before their.
You mean the Twitter fiasco?
Thing. Yeah, and so, but what it speaks to is people care a lot about how to be successful there right now, and they've been investing in platform development for 20 or 30 years, and so they're kind of tired of it at this point. We had one of the finance people come to us and say, "When are you going to be done building the site?" And we said, "Never." It's never done. This is a continual optimization. So, but a lot of people wish that it could be done and they could move on to the next task.
All right. So Derek and Dave talked about the sort of the media aspects of the new platforms. Ash talked about a new way of collecting market research information, and Julie talked about kind of a causal impact of app adoption, right, on behavior. So a few different topics, but hopefully we got some people to ask some questions of any one of them.
Okay.
He who has the mic has the floor.
He who sits front gets the mic first. So maybe this is a question for both you, David and Derek. So I'm very interested in the analytics that comes out of all of the fascinating data that many of you talked about. And I think both of you alluded to some of the examples in your companies where, doing, I think, David, you talked about the fact that an example of where people are really, really responsive to the ads that are tailored to their experiences. So could you speak to a little bit about what's going on inside your own companies, using the data that's coming out of these things? Are there like data science teams in place? Are you working towards, how do you use the data? I guess that's my question.
I can start. So our data team is sitting right there.
Okay, nice to meet you.
and he's been with the company for about 3.5 months. And what I would say is, we are not like a Capital One that has like millions of dollars to spend into researching this stuff. And so what we're looking for is big insights that are actionable, that we can, and we've been looking at analytics for a lot longer than that. We've had things in place, but I wanted to put a lot of analytics into my presentation, especially with the audience. The problem is we launched the CLA at the same time that we launched responsive design, and it's completely destroyed and polluted because it's exceeding every metric we've ever had: site traffic, builds, request a quote, schedule a test drive. So I wish I could take credit for that, but a lot of it has to do with the product itself. But as far as what we do with it, we have basically a philosophy of iterative enhancements. So we look at launching something when it's a viable product, understanding how it's performing, and iteratively enhancing it over time. We're looking at platforms to do that in a much more rapid pace, because there are some platforms that allow you to do that with multivariate testing and A/B testing. But really what you need is either a huge investment or really good tools.
Dave, I'm sure you've been doing it for a long time, right?
Yeah, I mean, my background is the digital analytics space and trying to figure that out. So at time, it's always been print first. So we have a research team which is really print focused, but all of the stuff that we're doing now is very new. So we do have a few people working on it. We're definitely doing A/B testing on the ads, seeing what works, what doesn't work. I think we need to get to the point where we're doing it on every single campaign, figuring out how to leverage all of the assets, to the next level. I think right now we've kind of been doing it campaign by campaign and just seeing what performs, what works for each advertiser. But there's definitely a lot more that can be done. There's a lot more that can be done from an analytics space, as well as just learning what data do we have that we can actually leverage for the future as well.
And I will just add that pretty much every advertiser we spend money with wants to come to us with analytics and findings. So a lot of the things that were presented today, we've seen with kind of first-party data, the same kind of validations.
So just to follow that up for a second, do you see measurable change in, say, site visits, click-throughs, whatever it is, when you make upgrades in, say, question to both of you, upgrades in, say, the mobile platforms?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, some of the growth we've seen lately has to do with
It's confounded with the introduction of the CLA, you said.
But what
yeah.
we have measured is site satisfaction, which is more of a qualitative survey, and that's at the highest ratings it's been for the year. So, I mean, I think that's part of what we look at as far as if people are satisfied.
I think on our side, specifically with our mobile properties and our web properties, we're seeing just mobile usage increase like crazy, and a lot of it is due to the fact that we are optimizing our websites as well. So a lot of our sites are being remodeled basically on a monthly basis. We had, I mean, maybe 6 months ago, we only had about 20 million unique users on mobile. Now we're at 28 million. On the advertising front of it, we're definitely seeing, as we tweak it, as we look at the analytics, we're learning which pieces of content need to go to which users, and we're definitely seeing large increases there.
Just one more thing I'll say on that. It's usually very small changes that can have profound impacts. You know, we added, from our located dealer results page, we added a link to inventory instead of just to the dealer's website, and we saw a 40% increase in traffic to inventory. So it can be very, very small things. It does not have to be redesigns and, you know, new platforms.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, sure.
Hi, how are you guys? I guess this question is probably more focused towards Derek and David, but I guess feel free to answer.
Yeah,
for
just
anyone.
speak right into the mic. So
Sure. So I was thinking about how we've seen other channels, like I think of email, be very specific with content based on the user's device, time of day, weather within a specific location, etc. You know, there's a bunch of attributes there. But have you guys seen web have that same impact? So if you log on to MBUSA and it's raining where you are, does it show a picture of an image of a Mercedes driving down the road, a wet road, and it says, hey, you know, buy Mercedes because it is safer in the rain because it has fog lights or because it has whatever attributes?
So has that happened on the web? Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at the Walmarts and the Targets and the Home Depots, they are probably really good at that kind of thing. They have entire engines to run that kind of thing. We're definitely looking at that, and you'll hear from Maximizer probably this afternoon at how they're powering technologies like that for lots of companies. It's happening a lot where it makes sense because you can prove that it's increasing sales. It's much harder to do when you can't purchase a Mercedes-Benz online. So we have to find a way to measure how much it matters to us if somebody stays, you know, a minute longer on the site, or, you know, builds 2 cars instead of 1 and stuff like that. And we're going through that process now. I don't think we'll get to the level of granularity of showing a car in the rain because there's probably not an ROI there. But knowing where you've been shopping and that you're in market for an E-Class versus an M-Class, that's probably really useful for us.
On the advertising front, absolutely. You know, there's general brand advertising that can be done on our sites. You just want to sponsor a section. But if you look at just the way that advertising has been changing over the last few years, you have Rocket Fuel, which just went public, Turn, DataZoo, all these media buying platforms, which are all about optimizing. They look at data about the user that they have, but as well as other factors, day part, day of week. There's just so much that they look at and pull into an optimization methodology. But it all comes down to having that goal. So, you know, for auto, it's a little bit tougher. What's your goal on your website? I used to do this for Verizon Wired, and people could actually sign up on the website, and you set a value to the actual sign up to getting the credit card, and maybe that didn't happen as often, so you found a process that happened a little bit more often that always led to it, or a large amount of time led to it. When you have that goal, you can now look at full attribution models of what's actually driving. And that's the part that's actually getting really interesting as you get to multiple devices. Back when I was doing it a few years ago for Verizon, we were just doing web. But now as you get into mobile, all these different spaces, there's different issues with the trackability. You don't really have cookies in mobile as much. Apple is very difficult to work with on that front. Android's a little bit easier. But how do you attribute the actual sale or the actual conversion goal? So it's just something that we're trying to model out as we go. And I don't think that anybody has the 100% foolproof answer at this point in the industry, but it is something that a lot of companies are working on.
It's a question for both all of you guys, but start with.
Oh, you got mine. Let's go with Jim first.
All right, Julie, this is for you. You made the case. I got to keep you awake here. No, you made the case that with the advent of the mobile app, the usage on the dating sites, male female, has gone up. But you also had a statistic that showed the productivity or the efficiency also went up. Why was that? I mean, maybe you stated it and I missed it, but I was curious to know why would that have gone up as opposed to equal with the volume increase?
As opposed to?
Well, the volume went up,
Right.
and I would assume that the productivity would have been about the same, but something happened on the mobile side to cause that to go up even faster, a higher slope.
Right. So I think part of it is the immediacy that happens with the mobile app, right? So maybe what will be useful is to I need to turn my mic on. I think maybe what will be useful is to define what a match is in our context, and a match is an exchange of 3 messages between, and this is based on what the online dating site has said. So I send you a message, you send me a message back, and I send you a message again, right? So the efficiency goes up in that based on if I send a message, I'm more likely to get a response, basically, is what drives the efficiency going up. And on the mobile app, it's much more accessible, right? So we're doing that much more quickly and much more readily. So that's one thing I think that would drive the efficiency of the match increasing.
Thank you.
That makes sense, yes.
Both of you were talking a lot about attribution, and so I want to come back to that question a little bit. How do you value the website that you've built? Because it is playing a role in the path to purchase for consumers. And you can think of it not just as a website, but as another media that is in the path to purchase. And if I value display advertising in a particular way, search in a particular way, I should value your site too. How do you do that, and how do you put an ROI on these things?
So again, my colleague Scott, he's working on our attribution model, and I think in this next year we'll be able to do a lot better measurement of that. Our mecca right now, or our holy grail, is leads. So the way we measure the success of the site for the most part is how many leads are we passing from our site to the dealers. So because that is the closest we have to a purchase at this point. And that's for now. But we also measure it in 3 funnels. As far as consideration and intent and shopping. And so if we see a huge increase in people who are completing builds and estimating payments, which are not passing leads, we still see that as an incredible amount of value. But that's also what we're doing as part of this attribution model, is putting a dollar value to those actions.
So as the advertisers get a dollar value to the actions, what we're looking at is the other side. How do we actually start doing the matching? So we can do cross-device. So we can go beyond just search and display, but also look at mobile and video, everything that's out there. There are companies like TapAd, which is basically trying to connect devices. That's really interesting. They basically see your mobile phone on a specific Wi-Fi network and then your computer on the same Wi-Fi network for different periods of time. So there are certain ways to connect it to the same user that we're trying to look at that can help build the underlying data of the attribution model.
And if you're curious about how we're actually tracking that, talk to Scott offline. I'm sure he'll be happy to talk to you about that.
I have a question. Derek, do you have is there a third-party provider doing tier 3, doing the dealership websites and handling that?
Yes.
And aren't most people who are at the bottom of the lower end of the purchase funnel going right to the dealer website to find, to get inventory, deals, kind of more local?
I think that yes and no. I think a lot of people don't even think of going to a dealer website unless they own a car already. I think a lot of people are probably searching on third-party automotive sites, TrueCar, to get pricing information. And that is definitely the challenge we've faced, is the transparency of pricing, and which is it's a good challenge. I'm glad it's here. I think that what we've found is that people used to visit 4 dealerships before purchasing a car. Now they, on average, visit a little bit over 1. So what that really says is people are doing all of the research online, and then they're showing up to the dealership saying, I want this car for this price and you better give it to me. And the power has shifted, and so therefore our challenge has shifted. But a lot of that research is happening on our site. 20%, around 20% of people who come to our site visit a dealer site from there. There's not a lot more traffic going to the dealer site than that.
This is for David. What do you think of native advertising as it applies to Timing's properties?
Yeah, we're doing a lot with the native advertising. I think there have been a few articles here and there, and one of my coworkers is really focused on it. Native's been around for a really long time. It was around in print as well. It's basically an advertisement.
Maybe you should just quickly define it. If
Yeah,
everybody's not familiar with the term.
It's an advertisement that takes on the visualization of typical content user experience. So in a magazine, if you're going through and you say, it's at the top, it says, this article is written by or sponsored by a specific advertiser, that's native to the experience of print. It's completely different in each realm. If you're looking in Facebook, and you have a sponsored post, that's native of Facebook. So on our websites, it's basically what's native on our website, and that's either a photo gallery that's sponsored by somebody, or where they've actually built all the content, and it's all for them. So we're looking into it. We need to make sure that we're not stepping on any toes when it comes to user experience. We need to make sure that consumers feel fully comfortable that there's a clear differentiation between advertisement and our content, and that it's not ruining their experience. I think overall it's been very positive. It's been working well in the industry, and we're just trying to figure out how it actually matches into each of our sites. The people who come to People Read are different than the ones who come to SI, and the way they ingest content is different. So native is a little bit different for each of our experiences.
So I have a question for Joey. Building on your last...
Just speak right into it.
The point that you were making towards the end about engagement levels, right? So this is interesting because, there are 2 things going on here. First, online dating by construction is a kind of product where the better you are at matching, the more you lose the people, because if they're successfully matched, then they're not going to come back to you. And on top of that, the mobile app usage itself, often we see that a lot of people download it, but after a couple of times they stop using it.
Right.
So in terms of implications or the kind of things that these companies can do to keep the engagement levels high and keep them engaged.
Right.
Have you talked to them about what are the kind of things they're doing to solve this problem?
Have we talked to them about that? Maybe you remember better
Or
this conversation.
do you have any ideas?
But, so one thing that's important in this context and with our dating site is that they get, maybe this is interesting to ask, how many new users do you think they get in any given day? It's a question. Anybody have an idea?
1,000, 10,000.
25,000 new users every day, right? So, and when we see that that when people become a new user on the site, that's really when they pick up the mobile app. So in terms of the issue is with the users who are there, they turn over either because they're getting a date or just it dies off their use, but they are able to continue other people's engagement with the mobile application, which in terms of monetizing is what they care about, right? They have a lot of people who are engaging with the mobile app and engaging with the site regardless. This is what I was thinking about here is, I ended with saying that, this is a question, this is a challenge for them, and I don't know how to, I think if I had that answer, I'd be, but for a site like online dating sites actually get a lot of new, especially the one we're working with, get a lot of new users per day. I don't know if you have it.
I think this challenge is not actually really a bad, this half-life, very short half-life of mobile apps. For the online dating sites, they don't care. The people will come to them if there is sort of offline word of mouth that I get good dates there. That's what they care about, right? So if short-lived thing is fine here actually, because you go out, you get a date, you tell somebody that's the site to go to. That's why they get 25,000 new people coming in everywhere. So there's that offline peer influence that works, I think.
Quick question for Ash. It looks like what your method is doing looks a lot like what people are doing on Pinterest already. posting their behavior, posting what they're doing with products, et cetera. It seems like that would be pretty competitive product. I mean, they need a way to make money, right? And it seems like that would be something that they would be doing as well.
You're right on that. Primarily, I mean, with Pinterest, the amount of information that you can get on a respondent or a person that you want to know about is pretty limited. So, so with the methods that we have, is we're trying to get to, I think, a combination of qualitative and quantitative together. And things that I didn't talk about today was we are also trying some fusion techniques of taking the third-party databases, like Axiom has got probably information about all of us out there. So like trying to take that and marry it with the data and then make it a lot more powerful than just the qualitative and quantitative piece right there.
Okay.
I had a question.
I thought I saw.
Question over here.
Oh yeah. Okay. Sure.
I had a question for Julie. From a product perspective, what's the client you were working with actually doing to convert those 2,000 users that come in every day to actually paying customers? Like, what strategies were they taking?
Yeah, so there are some key features that are part of the premium subscription that the users really like in a context of online dating. And so one of them, which we've actually studied, is the ability to browse anonymously, right? So nobody can see that you're looking at them unless you want them to see that you're looking at them, right? So there are very key features that are sort of specific to the context of online dating that people actually really care about, and that's what makes people pay the money for it. Yeah. So they've really sorted out, like, differentiated the product offerings from free to premium. You can still do, unlike some online dating sites, you can still do a lot. Like, you can still get dates, message people, view people completely without paying for these features, but people really, really do like those features.
Do they like ask a question, like do a survey before they come up with how they're going to figure out what's free and what's not free?
Oh, do they ask? I thought you were going to say. Do they ask?
Like, how do they know which features to make free and which ones to just?
That's a good question. I actually don't know how they decide these features. When we've talked to them, they just seem to know that this is a feature that they like. But I think they do testing too in certain markets. It seems like that's something that they do. They're very, they test in certain markets what they want to do.
Okay, last question.
I have a question for Ash. You talked about how you analyze the text mining and the word clouds. Could you just tell us a little bit more about your method in terms of how you sort and categorize the photos, since you have so many photos that you're going through?
Unfortunately, that's a pretty manual process right now. We've tried various. There are we tipped our toes into machine learnings to see if we can use some of the techniques that probably Google uses for analyzing the text. But it does not come out with as much accuracy as what you would like as a human being is looking at it. So right now it is a pretty manual and intensive process of categorizing those pictures into the database.
Okay, thanks. Thank you to the panel.